Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making halal cart New York chicken over rice with extra white sauce because that's the only way you eat it. This is something I used to eat all the time when I used to work in Center City, Philadelphia, but now that I don't, I was craving it, so let's just make it. Let's go. Okay, so now we're going to get started on our freshly washed chicken thighs that I cut up into bite-sized pieces. We're going to do a half a cup of full-fat Greek yogurt, 5 cloves of fresh minced garlic, and 1 whole lemon juiced, freshly squeezed if you can, but you can use the kind that comes in a bottle. Just make sure you don't get seeds in yours like I did. Now we're going to start with the seasonings. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of adobo. This is the only salt that we're using. I'm going to use a tablespoon of cumin, a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm using another teaspoon of garlic pepper, but you can use garlic powder because I didn't have any. A tablespoon of oregano leaves, about 1 to 2 teaspoons of coriander, a teaspoon or 2 of turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of allspice. And then you're going to use your hands and really get in there and saturate each piece with this marinade. You can let this sit overnight, of course, for best results, but I was pressed for time, so I let mine sit on the counter for about 30 minutes while I worked on this rice. So I'm going to go in with 3 tablespoons of ghee, which is clarified butter. You can find this at any local grocery store, usually in your international aisle. Yeah, and basically it has this really nice depth of flavor. I don't know, it just tastes like, I just love ghee. Ghee is good. I put it on my toast. Now I'm going to toast up my spices. I have ground cumin, turmeric, and coriander. I used about 2 teaspoons of each of those in the ghee, and we're going to really warm up those spices so that they release a really nice aroma so that rice can absorb it when we cook it. Okay, now I'm going to go in with some basmati rice, 2 cups of that, and I'm going to put that right into the pot with ghee and the spices, and we're going to toast the rice. And we're going to toast the rice so that it releases this really nice nutty scent. And you'll start smelling it about 5 minutes into the cooking process of like just stirring the rice around, getting it to get a nice brown color. Once you start smelling that about 5 to 7 minutes in, add some chopped onions. Okay, just throw them in the pot. They don't have to be cut any special type of way, just get them in there. All right, and so once that happens, I'm going to use some chicken broth for my liquid to cook the rice. It adds a beautiful flavor. If you don't have chicken broth, that's fine. You can use water and chicken bouillons. They work just as well. So once my onions are getting toasted, my rice is smelling good, that's when I'll add the appropriate amount of liquid for my rice. And let me tell y'all something, I just learned how to cook rice. I mean, and I'm still not the best at it, but God is good all the time, and He is helping me through this journey of cooking rice. All right, all my rice always ended up like oatmeal. I don't know what that was about. I'm adding 2 bay leaves just for some extra flavor, and I'm gonna bring my rice up to a boil. And once it comes to a boil like this, I'm gonna add my lid on top, reduce the heat to low, and let it cook. Y'all know how to cook rice. I didn't know how to cook rice, but for those of you who are like me and don't know how to cook rice, I boil it first on high heat, put the lid on, reduce the heat, and let it just simmer for about 25 to 30 minutes, I think. I mean, that's what I did for this, and it came out right. Don't apply this to all your rice recipes, just this one. Listen, don't be cussing me out in the comments because your rice came out mushy. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to rice. All right, now we're going to work on our white sauce. We're going to start with a cup of mayo. Now we have that same Greek yogurt. We're going to go in with a half a cup of that. I have some salt, some black pepper, about a teaspoon of each. I have an extra lemon. I'm going to use the lemon juice from that, and some vinegar, some white vinegar. I used about a tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of the vinegar. All right, and now I'm just mixing it up. And don't forget, during this process, you want to really taste what you're making. I mean, you're going to eat it eventually, so you want to make sure it tastes good. So I ended up using the whole lemon. And the lemon, between the lemon and vinegar, it gave it a nice like sour taste to it. This is me tasting it. And then I'm going to adjust it and needed more salt. But I mean, this was really good. For this to be my first time making some white sauce, It was the bomb. Now I'm going in with about a half a teaspoon of sugar. You want to keep like tasting it as you're mixing it so that it fits your flavor profile. I went in with some garlic pepper, but you should use garlic powder. I don't have any, so don't add any extra pepper. Just use the garlic powder. All right. So now I realized that my chicken was a little light skin, so I'm starting to add some paprika, and I added a pack of Sazon just to add some redness to it, because when I thought about the chicken that I used to get from the cart, it was kind of like it had like this orangey tint to it, and so I could have added some more paprika, but this was my first time making the dish, so I wanted to make sure I didn't overly season it so that, you know, flavors that shouldn't have been in there were like in there, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, so next we're gonna start frying up our chicken. I have some olive oil in a pot, and I'm gonna start cooking my chicken in batches, and I'm doing that for two reasons. The first reason is because I wanted to have like a nice dark char on each of the pieces. Like, remember, I don't know if you guys have had this before, but if you have, you know they cook it on a flat top. When you go to the food trucks, they cook it on a flat top, and it's like some caramelized pieces, some really brown bits, and they have like all the flavor. It's so good. So I really wanted to replicate that in my dish. That's number one. And then number two, you cook it in batches because you don't want to overcrowd your pot. When you overcrowd your pot, it creates steam, which creates extra moisture. That's the last thing we need. We want these things, in order for it to get nice and brown, it has to have air flowing through it. So cook it in batches unless you have a bigger pot, and just take your time and really brown these babies. Really cook them through and get them nice and charred, because I'm telling you, that's where the flavor is. So now that we're done cooking all of our little chicken pieces, I have chopped up white onion and green bell pepper that I'm going to cook in the end. And I do this at the end because I don't want these to get too soft and like mushy. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I have a thing with mushy vegetables. I just can't, texture-wise, I can't get into mushy vegetables. You know what I mean? It's just not my thing. So I added these to the end so that way I can kind of control how much they cook. I just kind of want them to char a little bit, turn a little brown on the edges, but I still want them to be slightly soft and slightly crunchy. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just browning them. I cooked them for about 7 minutes until they all look like that, and this is what the chicken and peppers and onions look like. It's looking pretty legit, right? All right, I know. Listen, my mouth was watering. It was looking and smelling good. So now we're going to make the little salad that they put on the side of your platter, which is a basic little iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and onion. And I'm gonna chop this up, or you can chop it up really thin. Be careful with your fingers. I sped this video up, so I'm not really chopping that fast. So you're really gonna chop it into thin ribbons, and then cut those thin ribbons in half. You don't want big chunks of lettuce for your salad, just because that's not how they serve it normally. And so next I am gonna go in with my handy dandy knife and chop up some Roma tomatoes. And I like the Roma tomatoes because they're just so red and juicy. Like, look at how red these are. Ugh, beautiful. So I'm going to slice these into, or I'm going to dice these into bite-sized pieces, and just sit them to the side. And then I'm going to just work my way through each of the veggies.
This is for you.
Now, white onions aren't a common ingredient in these halal salads, but I used to ask for raw onions because they sometimes do have them in the carts. I used to ask for them to sprinkle some raw onions on top of my salad and on top of the chicken as well. I don't know, it just added some extra like pizzazz to the dish, so that's why I'm adding it to mine. I just like it like that, but you don't have to add it if you don't want Yeah, and you can also do purple onion if you like, but I just like white onion because it's just a milder flavor to me. Okay, everything came out perfectly. So now we're going to plate it up. I have this little pasta bowl that I love to eat food out of, regular food out of. So now I'm just going to assemble my salad and my lettuce, my little tomato pieces. I'm going to go in with this rice that came out so good. It looks dry, but I promise you it does not taste like dry in a bad way. Like I was really proud of myself. I was really, really proud of myself at how this rice turned out. So rice at the bottom, chicken, peppers, onions on top. All right, and plate it up nice and healthily. Ooh, I was hungry. So once I do that, I'm gonna go in with my white sauce. And listen, let me tell you something. Be generous with this white sauce. It is delicious. It belongs on everything. Put it on a salad, put it on the rice, put it on the chicken. And you can add a little hot sauce on top if you want. I have this ghost pepper hot sauce that I eventually added to the end just for a little kick, but that was dinner and it was delicious. Okay, and then I'm gonna top it off with some parsley just because, you know, we gotta be a little fancy. It is a home food cooking show, you know, parsley on everything. And this is the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Please try it. Let me know in the comments if you like it, if you plan on trying it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.